Hi everyone, I'm Cress, and today we're going to be continuing my Beauty and the Beast inspired builds in the Storybook Vale. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me in the Vale. In today's speed build, we'll be using the Autumn Manor house and Belle's cottage to create a cozy, bookish escape for Belle in the bind. Maybe you're just here for a cozy background video while you're working on your own valley, or maybe you're looking for inspo, but please consider liking and subscribing for more Touch of Magic designs, tips and tricks, speed builds, and tours. If you've already subscribed, thank you so much. We're going to start off with the Autumn Manor house. This house skin is one of my favorites, with all of its autumn leaf details, the scattered books on the porch, and the open book sign in the gable above the door. It just gives off a perfectly cozy autumnal library vibe. So we're going to use the bookish tiles for the path leading up to the house. This is one of the new furniture items that we can get from Scrooge with the expansion, and honestly, in my opinion, it's one of the best. Now, I don't want the path to feel too cluttered with books, so I'm spreading the tiles out a bit and placing the plumeria petals in between them. The delicate white petals are such a pretty contrast to the warm autumn colors in the bind, so we're going to use them pretty much throughout this whole build. Now it's time for some foliage to hem the path in and make it feel cozier. We'll use one of the larger landscaping pieces for the right side. These are wonderful because they add a lot of variety to a build without making a huge dent in your item count. For Switch players especially, I recommend using these large landscape pieces in most of your builds, but honestly, it's really good practice for everyone. We're going to do a bit of moving around just to make sure this is as far over to the left as it can be next to the path. I'm gonna add a couple of these autumnal leaf piles to add some texture. I'm leaving space on both sides of the path so that I can still walk through this build without having to go all the way down the path. Adding barrels to this build will add a touch of a rustic vibe, which works well in tying this build together with the design for Belle's cottage. Next, we're going to go ahead and keep on adding trees. One of my favorite things about Storybook Vale being added is that we have such a huge variety of trees that's also added to our inventory. For this build, we'll be using trees from the bind and from Mythopia, as they both have that golden autumnal look that we want to incorporate into our build. Since I've basically designated this building as Belle's own personal library, I'm going to add a bunch of book piles along the path as well. I just want to take a quick minute to gush over this scholastic sycamore. I think it might be my favorite tree in the game. Actually, it is my favorite tree by far. I mean, look at it. It's just gorgeous with the candles and the book underneath it. While we'll be using the rustic wooden fence for Belle's cottage, I feel like the wrought iron fence adds a bit of elegance to the manor house, and it'll help provide a nice transition from the more rustic look of the cottage to the slightly more urban look of the manor. Now we're going to add these felt cap mushrooms because basically, as far as I'm concerned, they can be used in almost every build. They're just so pretty and so whimsical. We'll put these cute little literary sunflowers here to frame out the entrance to the path to the library. And then, of course, we can add some more books because really this is the bind and you can never have enough. In piles, on the ground, heck, even floating books. I'll go ahead and add some of the Bayou Fireflies for some extra magic, and the Manor House portion of this build is done. Now onto Belle's cozy cottage. I'm going to start off by enclosing this entire area with trees. Since Belle is a bookish princess and we're going to tie her house in with the Autumn Manor, I'll be using book-themed trees for this portion of the build as well. We got a lot of cute items with the Harvest Celebration bundle from the premium shop that work really well in the bind, but we'll only be using the wagon from that bundle for this build. This wagon is such a pretty item with its constant leaf animation. I love that you don't have to press anything for the leaves to go, and it provides the perfect rustic touch. For this part of the build, I'm going to use my Touch of Magic mushroom path. To be honest, with the leaves blended into the grass in certain places of the bind, the mushroom path might make it a bit too busy, but I just really love the autumn magic vibes of this path, so I can't resist using it. I also like that the grassy green bits in the path match with the shutters on Belle's cottage and some of the foliage surrounding it. If you'd like to make your own mushroom path, I'll link my tutorial for this in the description. While the wagon is super cute, like I said, I discovered during this build that it's impossible to pick up anything around it once you've put it down, so I'm going to have to keep going back to other parts of the build in order to duplicate the items and grab them to put them down. We're going to fill in the spaces between the mush path with more plumeria petals for a natural flowery look. and we'll add a few rock clusters to add some texture and dimension to the path. My idea here is to curve the path around and have it cutting through a river that starts from the water wheel on the house. Once again, I'll be using a touch of magic rug to create this look. I have a tutorial for this one as well, which I'll also link in the description if you want to create your own. Even though we don't have curved fencing yet at this point, we can still make use of the fencing to create what ends up looking like an angled entrance to the house. That being said, I'm really hoping with this next update that we're going to get the ability to curve paths and fences. We'll enclose the whole thing with the fence and then use these craftable bridge lampposts to frame out the entrance. Since we want this to look as natural as possible, I'm going to add some items to really blend the touch of magic rugs in with the rest of the grass. So we'll add some of these autumn leaf piles and some rocks to start. Now, while it's important to help the edges of the rug blend, it's equally important to add items to fill in the whole area. The more items you have, the more naturally everything will blend together. I'll go in and add some glade ferns, which are great because they're such a warm green, and a sunlit plateau bush. I'm going to move a few things around so that I can disguise the rug edges with a rock, and even though there's a little bit of the rug sticking out in front of the fence, I'll go back later to blend that in too. Let's do something similar with the left-hand side as we've done with the right, just fill in all around it to make it blend in with the grass. I want a cozy little seating area where Belle can lounge with a cup of tea and read. While this lounge set doesn't quite have the same color palette as the rest of the build, or the rest of the bind even, I kind of like the contrast that it provides, but if you want to keep it in the same color palette, you could always use the picnic blanket from the Frozen collection here instead. we're going to use the fence to create a cute little path to the beach here. Using these pumpkins from the Cinderella collection will help tie the lounge pillows in with the rest of the build. That pretty cornflower blue is similar enough to the blue in the pillows that it helps the whole thing look cohesive. Then we can use these curved maple trees to create kind of a little arch above the lounge set. I'll be creating Belle's provincial town in the rest of the bind, so I don't want to add too much to the front here, but we're just going to add a few items in front of the fence and a few trees so that it doesn't feel incomplete. For the finishing touches, we'll add some lighting. I'm going to use the craftable atrium candles, but the melted candles or even the two-headed monsters ink lights would also look really nice here. And last but not least, the flowers and mushrooms. I use sunflowers exclusively, but if you're recreating this in your own valley, I think that the eternal poppies from Mythopia would look gorgeous in this build. And you could use the white impatiens and the yellow and orange nasturtiums from the Forgotten Lands too. Now for a quick little sunset tour of this cozy little book nook. I just want to thank every single one of my amazing subscribers for your views, likes, and comments. Each interaction helps my small channel grow. It means so much, you have no idea. A special thanks to our channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Your contributions have and will continue to keep the cozy content coming. If you've enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Thanks, friends, and I'll see you in the next video.